question is, and we've heard it a lot of times, is why are there so many darn rules before we get married? And I guess first off, just speaking for priests, is we want to make it as painful as possible. But we say that jokingly, and it really should be your marriage preparation time should be a time of joy, not too much craziness, and just to be able to fall back on the fact that you were very well prepared to say I do the day of your wedding. So some of the things, the questions that we always have when we begin to counsel a prospective husband and wife is we bring them into the office and lay out what are the requirements for wedding to be married in a Catholic church. And requirement really isn't a fair word because it always brings up the ugly word of rules, rules, rules. But beginning even with the first talk with the priest ascertains whether you are both ready and able to commit to marriage. For instance, at that first meeting, the priest gets to know the two fiancés, can find out a little bit about their past history. One of the first questions we always ask is, have you been married before? Because if you have been married before, one of the partners has been married before, there's the question of annulment, the question of whether you are able to consent to marriage as a sacrament. So that's one of the first things to try to straighten out in that first meeting is, are there any impediments to your marriage? The second thing that happens with the marriage preparation is the focus test. Now, focus test is not like eHarmony, where we find out, you answer the questions correctly, and yes, you may get married. Because what the focus is, precisely, is that it opens and fosters communication between the man and the woman. And basically what it does is it ensures that you have talked about, or at least have begun to think about, all of the wide-ranging possibilities that marriage will bring forth. Whether it's questions about family of origin, how are we going to handle our finances, the expectations that the church has just for things like daily mass attendance on the weekends, how will you raise your children. We've talked about our differences in worshiping the Lord. So all of those things in that first focus test is all about communication. Communication so that the priest can help the couple, the wedding sponsor couple can help the couple, and also that can be addressed at the engaged encounter weekend. And so the focus questionnaire really does ask some specific questions. For instance, the behavior of my future spouse sometimes frightens me. That would be a key problem indicator. My family approves of my future spouse. Questions to be talked about just in terms of holiday dinners for the rest of your life. I can only be happy if I am married. Those are just some of the questions that are asked, wide range, to make sure that you have discussed all the things that you need to talk about. So while it may seem like there are many rules, even so far, the point is that the couple is always able to fall back upon their time of wedding preparation and know that they discerned well, that they were prepared well, and any future difficulties, whether it's sickness or illness, loss of a job, great happiness, many children, whatever may come in the future, the couple is confident and assured that they have been prepared well. So we also have rules, I guess, if you will, about the engaged encounter weekend when you join with other couples who are undergoing the same thing, just to have a sense of fraternity, camaraderie, but also it's a great workshop that goes over a particular weekend in the month, or even the 4 Thursdays of selected months during the year, to be able to address specific topics that sometimes the priest, whether he doesn't have time or the expertise, for instance, financial planning, to talk with doctors about natural family planning and so on. There's also rules, I guess, in terms of what will happen actually at the wedding. A lot of us have seen the horror stories, especially on reality TV, about what happens at weddings. And so one of the things that the priest tries to do, and the expectations of the parish and the church, is to make sure that there's due reverence given, and that really the things, whether it's dresses, flowers, flower girls, wagons pulling up, whatever it may be, that the focus isn't so much on the things of the wedding, but the wedding itself. the husband and wife, two becoming one before God. So there are going to be rules from one parish to the next about actually how the ceremony is going to go, what music is allowed to be played, what music should be played. The question of what the decorum of the wedding party should be, especially at the rehearsal the evening before usually, and at the wedding and before the wedding and after the wedding. So rules, but rules to make sure that the bride and groom have a wonderful experience on their wedding day, a happy time leading up to it, and be set for their life thereafter. And the priests a lot of times, I can assure you, are going to be as accommodating as possible within reason. And accommodating to make sure that we understand that it is a family event, that to a certain extent there are expressions of individuality, and I'm sure that your priest will be able to talk that over with you. But in terms of your life together, and as I like to say to the couples that I am preparing, that the key is and especially my job, is to make sure that your wedding day goes as perfectly as possible. And so all of that is discussed beforehand, that the actual day of the wedding, the priest can help make the wedding go as good as it possibly can. From the Catholic calisthenics, the standing up, the sitting down for those who are not Catholic and have never been to a Catholic Mass or a Catholic wedding before, and just helping the bride and groom to be as prepared as they can be. So rules, 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 but actually it's hopefully more opportunity to have a wonderful time leading up to the wedding day, and life thereafter.